welcome back to What You Think. You're joined by your host, me, Fezz, Momo, Mel, and Jang. And today we will be talking about the new Suicide Squad movie directed by James Gunn. Now, before we start our episode, we just want to give a massive warning. We're going to cover some major spoilers about the movie. So if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to ruin your movie experience, I suggest you go away. Or
Everyone dies.
or if you have seen the movie or you just don't care, then welcome to the club. Now before we get started in the actual movie review, I'm really curious, as all of us have watched the 2016 Suicide Squad. I would like each of us to give a one-liner sentence of what we thought of that movie, as well as the rating, so we can do like a comparison in the middle. So who wants to go first?
I think Justin should, because he is the biggest fan of that film. I still remember in
Ooh,
2016 he was like, I love this. He bought a shirt with the
really?
Suicide Squad logo. So yeah.
Nice.
No,
Ooh,
okay.
go for it.
I bought the shirt because me, Momo, and a few other people we played GTA together and we called ourselves the Suicide Squad. So I bought that shirt for two reasons. But yeah, and also I watched the Suicide Squad like many times, and one of the times I watched it in Australia in the biggest IMAX. So because of that,
Wow.
like I think I'm slightly biased because it looked very good. So yeah, but I like that movie a lot because I think that was one of the first movies where they did like the villain's perspective. I think this was before Venom and all those other
Yeah.
anti-hero movies. So this was the first time they did that kind of thing, and I really liked it. And yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like Jared Leto's Joker, and
Yeah.
Enchantress was a bit weird with her dancing and everything, but like
Yes.
but overall like Will Smith and Margot Robbie,
Robbie.
and yeah, they really carried it, and it was really it was just a fun movie, just like this Suicide Squad is really fun.
Oh yeah, do you have a
Rating.
rating for that? Yeah.
What out of 10 or out of 5 or what?
Out
No,
of
one.
10.
10 lah. Yo.
Okay, out of 10. Okay, I guess I'll give it a 8. 8, yeah, I'll give it a 8
Ooh.
probably.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, not gonna lie, I think you're the first person I know that liked this movie, because
Let's make it another person. I'm gonna come in right now. I actually
Go for it.
like the let's make it a double. I actually like this movie a lot more than
Oh,
most people, but I give it a 7 out of 10. The first one. It's a very interesting story, I think. Not really the movie itself. I mean, the behind the scenes tale. You know, how they got a trailer, movie studio to just come in and edit the movie and add a bunch of music. That part definitely was jarring. You know, the text on screen. Enchantress was a shit villain, but I have to echo a lot of what Jang said. The characters, the core Suicide Squad. It was just a fun movie, but yeah, the villain was horrendous. They could have used more Joker, but overall, I'd like to say release the Ayer cut. That's all I have to say about the first Suicide Squad. But it's kind of like Justice League in the sense where it's perfectly competent. It's fine. It doesn't do anything to change the comic book genre per se or redefine it. It's just a fun movie you can watch for 2 hours. The soundtrack is amazing, though. I'll say that.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that was
yeah, I
good.
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's about it.
I would still give the 2016 Suicide Squad about a 7.5. I haven't revisited it recently, but from what I remembered, like Jang said, it was one of the first times we actually see like something from like the villain's perspective, like Marvel, but a villain, you know, and I really enjoyed it at that time. And I think I'm just gonna be one of the few people that actually quite enjoy the Jared
Don't say
Leto's Joker.
Enchantress. Okay.
No, okay. She was a shit villain. I have to admit that. I was a really shit villain, but it was a movie that I didn't really take seriously. It was something that I just watched for fun because I thought the premise of it all was really interesting at the time. And I just really liked the soundtrack as well. And the only soundtrack I can really think of was Gangster by Kalani. The whole we can't sing. But
yeah.
I did enjoy the Harley Quinn and Joker dynamics, and I felt like that movie was really iconic in a way that we've established the icon of Harley Quinn, and that really carried forward all the way till now with Birds of Prey and the new Suicide Squad. So it was really nice to see Margot Robbie reprise her role again and again after the success of how famous her character became after the first Suicide Squad movie. So yeah.
Am I the only one here that does not like it? It sounds like I am.
Oh,
I
good.
did not like this movie at all. For me, it was a mediocre mess. Yeah, I found the characters extremely boring. I found
Yeah,
like they were just
Katana.
like they were crazy. Like they were crazy, but like they were crazy for nothing. You know, they were just like crazy for nothing. I found the storyline extremely flat. It was just
Mhm.
also so depressing to look at. The colors was just
Oh,
so
it's so
Mhm.
it was
dark.
like
Yeah,
Yeah, you
and
can't see anything.
the costumes were horrible. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
No.
And the CGI. Oh, the CGI was not the best. Like I think the worst part was
Really?
Cara Delevingne's like
Oh yeah.
at the end. I don't know what she
Oh, the
was
dancing.
doing. Yeah,
I
she was
can
just
give you
like
anything you want, my child.
I guess
Mhm.
I guess like the only good thing was I agree with everyone, the soundtrack, that was the only thing that popped in that movie. But I gave that movie a 4 out of 10. That was just
Oh,
Wow.
damn.
Wow.
yeah,
I'll just have one more thing to add. That
go for it.
movie was the defining movie of 2016, I think, for better
Mm,
or worse. Would you not
Yeah.
agree? We were all in
yeah.
school by then. Yeah, the first trailers that came out, everyone was watching it. The Bohemian Rhapsody, everyone dressed up as Harley Quinn. So yeah,
Yeah.
that I think was the most. It managed to capture the what is it, cultural zeitgeist, if you will.
Yeah, I think also like I guess like kind of kickstart the DC cinematic universe. I think people started getting more excited when at that time Suicide Squad was announced.
I don't think
Yeah,
so. I
really?
think I
I
think
thought it was.
BVS and Suicide Squad were the building blocks. Oh no, it started to, if you think about it, a train station or like a train, those were huge bumps along the way that made people go like, the DC movies will stick to Marvel, I think. So yeah, just BVS. I love BVS more than most people. That was a huge bump in the road. And then you come to Suicide Squad, people were like, really? And then it all culminated, I think, in Justice League being really underperforming at the box office. So yeah.
All right. So now that we've given a brief summary of what we thought of 2016 Suicide Squad, it's time to dive into the actual movie review of this year's Suicide Squad. So with our podcast, we always like to start off with the negatives, get the bad stuff out of the way. So what did you guys not like about this year's Suicide Squad?
I can go first. This is basically a soft reboot of the 2016 version, and I honestly felt like I couldn't really get into it in the beginning, and
Mm.
it was kind of one of those movies that kind of just slowly picked it up, and then by the end you're kind of like getting a bit more invested in it. But at the beginning, I just felt like it was really hard to feel the impact of this film, besides the basic idea of bringing a bunch of prison inmates together to fight against a common enemy at the beginning. But we are towards the end, we found out that, I don't know, it just really picked up with the pacing and stuff. But I don't know. I just felt like basically it's the pacing at the beginning that just didn't really do it for me. And it's essentially the same thing as 2016. So it kind of felt like nothing new was really being brought to the plate at the beginning. And I felt like Harley Quinn was being the only 2016 person. Am I
No,
mistaken, by the
Rick
way?
Flag,
No,
Captain
no, no.
Boomerang, Amanda
Sorry.
Waller. That's
Yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have not revisited the 2016 one in a while at all. But like, I don't know. I just felt like, so it's 2016 kind of like rendered not, I don't know, canon.
I
It's canon. It's
fundamentally
still
disagree
canon,
with
right?
you. No one
Okay.
knows at this point the DCU is a mess. In the
I
words
do
of a Queen song, nothing really matters in terms of continuity in this DC extended universe.
I do have to agree with Mel on like the beginning. I found the beginning really slow, and like I don't
Yeah.
know if it's just me,
Oh,
but why do they always have to mention the name Suicide Squad? Like in 2016, Will Smith was like, "So what, are we some sort of Suicide Squad?" And then this year they're like, "This is some sort of Suicide Squad." I'm like, is
it's
the name really?
That's
funny.
true. I
I
picked that up
found
as
it
well.
I found
It's
it kind of
funny.
cringy, but everything else is fine. I'll get to my negatives later. But Momo Jang, what did you not like about this movie?
Oh, what is that? Okay, no, the thing that kind of bothered me was the fact that it was so disconnected from the rest of the
Mm.
DCEU, which is kind of
Mhm.
okay, but like at the same time, they like Bloodsport. I can go into spoilers, right? So
Yes, you can.
Bloodsport, he was sent there because he put Superman in the ICU, and I was there like, what happened to Superman? Because they just like, he's in the ICU, and I was like, oh damn, what happened to him? So like they didn't really talk about the rest of the DC universe compared to like the first Suicide Squad, where it was kind of connected, but kind of like, they like the Batman was there, like, oh okay, but then this one was completely disconnected, which I can see it as a good thing also, because like, you can do what you want. It's your own isolated thing. But it was a bit sad that I was like, I wanted to know about everyone else, but it's fine. This one is kind of a nitpick, but the costumes, I know that they are supposed to be weird and stupid, but like, so some are just like, ayo,
Oh,
like
which one
it's not tactical at all. Not like
Who's-
polka dot man, or like
Uh,
or just like a peacemaker. I know like it's comic book accurate, but they're
yeah.
walking through a jungle in like I'm just like, what is going on? But I guess like that one I can also see as a good thing, because like, it's comic book accurate, it's perfect, but like, at the same time I'm like, this doesn't tactically make sense at all. So then that was another small thing. And Starro, yeah, this is the biggest thing I have, is kind of the villain. His name is Starro, right?
the
Ah,
Kong-
Yeah, but it's a giant starfish. Like,
Yeah.
what
Oh,
is going
yeah.
on?
I love that.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love the idea of the starfish, but I also kind of found it funny how his biggest weakness is his like biggest part of his body, like the eye.
Exactly.
As
Yeah.
dangerous as you are, you're also pretty easy to kill, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and then
And
like, why didn't Bloodsport and Pokemon shoot the eye? Why
No,
you
but
shoot
the eye
the
was
leg?
impenetrable. The eye was
True.
impenetrable, I think.
Oh, that's
Somehow
why
the
she needed a
javelin just got
javelin.
through.
That's
Yeah,
why
Oh,
we
that's
needed
why
rats.
when Harley Quinn
Yeah.
just yeeted into it, I was like, oh, okay.
The javelin, it was all right. It was all right.
Speaking of all the fight scenes as well, I just felt like maybe tactical wise, the fight scenes were not as impressive. I felt like they really tried to make it up for CGI, etc. Because wow, it's really gory in comparison to the 2016
Oh,
one.
yes.
We did not have any cool moves or anything like that as expected from an action fighting movie, but it was just more like, hey guys, we're gonna have a shark eat this guy's head like a bag of potato chips or something. And yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like what you said, like I think Momo knows this thing about me, is that when I see this kind of superhero team up movies, I
Yeah.
really like combos. Like, when they help each
Mhm.
other do something.
Ah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe in the 2016 Suicide Squad, like I think like Enchantress was gonna cut Harley Quinn, and then like Deadshot came in and like blocked it. And like, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
big things, but they need to help each other. It needs to like work together. But this one was more like, okay, Bloodsport, you shoot. Okay, didn't work. Okay, Polka Dot, you shoot. Also don't work. King Shark, you go. Or useless also. So it's just the same thing over and over. So like, yeah, so I don't know, like Star Wars was really weird for me, and how he got taken down by rats. I'm just like,
Oh, it was
really, rats did
beautiful.
it? Yeah, but like,
Mm.
really, are there that many rats on an island? Like, oh damn.
This was 15. They went to Subang.
Oh, they went to
This-
swim. No.
this city doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to us. It's theirs.
Ta-da! They
It's
just
the
call the
rats.
rats.
It's a metaphor.
But
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
I kind of like
That was
that though. I'll go
beautiful.
into that later. Yeah, it was beautiful, but we'll go into that later.
Yeah,
Mo-
but yeah, so Starro was like, it was cool, like, he has those smaller starfish that come out and suck people. I was like, that's cool, but then like at the same time, it's a freaking starfish. Like, it's hard to take seriously. But this whole movie isn't supposed to be taken seriously anyway. So, but yeah, so Starro was a bit weird. But
everything
other
you
than
guys have
that,
said.
yeah.
I just want to add to Jang's point. I'll quickly say that part of I do agree about the storyline. I wish there was more than just stopping a weird giant starfish. I thought that was slightly shallow. I don't know if you guys watch the Amazon Prime animated series called Invincible, but it
Oh,
kind
good
of
show.
reminded me of one of the episodes when they were in Mars and like all these like weird aliens were like sucking them on their face. It kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, but I'll get to my negatives later. But Momo, what did you not like about this movie?
I don't have many things I dislike. I thought overall this was just a perfectly great, enjoyable, fun 2 hours. But I'll say, so this is surprising coming from James Gunn. I think the music didn't pop at all in this
Oh
film.
yes, I
More
completely agree.
compared to the first Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The songs in those films, especially Volume 2, I feel just I'm gonna hum them, remember them for a long, long time. But for here, not there was. I mean, Harley Quinn singing is cool, but in terms of the soundtrack, I thought was great. Especially at the end with the rat scene, I thought was a beautiful score. But in terms
Yeah.
of using songs, I didn't really get anything from it. It didn't pop to me. So yeah, that's about the only thing that really stood out to me.
I just wanted to ask, what was the starfish's motives anyway? He just wanted the city?
He was triggered,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he was triggered. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think he's just wandering happily in space, he was just minding his own thing. But the US brought him and experimented on him and used him for like 30 odd so years. So this is just his revenge. He's just pissed.
Is it just me, or does it feel like the common enemy is not as strong as we thought it would have been? I mean, yeah, I mean, at the beginning when we were introduced to the characters, etc., I didn't even know what the mission was. So then you just had people going,
Hmm.
so it's for the sake of the mission, and the guy was like, "Fuck your mission," and I'm just, "What's the mission?"
I mean, the
And
mission was always to destroy the what is it? Go in and destroy the records of Jotunheim so that they can't use it against America. It's
yeah,
always America.
but
America's the villain in this one, really.
it just kept changing throughout the movie. So it was the whole
Hmm.
Jotunheim
Really
thing, and then
not.
it was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
actually the American government is not as good as we think. Okay, so we're going down that road again, and then after that, it was like, oh, okay, so now we have like this sorry, not jellyfish,
Starfish.
this starfish that we need to fight, and I don't even know exactly what the motive of the starfish was. It was interesting though. I'm not complaining as much, but it's just not as
I thought it was always
tightly put together in my
destroy
opinion.
Jotun. It was always the mission was always go to Jotunheim and get the records. So the what is it called? The Maltese government can't use anything against the US. And then they had a change of heart because we want to do the right thing. I thought there was a beauty to the simplicity of it all.
Hmm.
Simplicity is beauty.
I actually I actually like that. I like the idea that the US will like the US military with the villains. I wish they
Yeah.
showed more of it because it was so interesting to show also that moral ambiguity.
Mm.
But I just felt like again, like why everything was wasted on that stupid starfish.
Yeah.
I also wish they showed us more on why they were criminals for each of the members of the Suicide Squad. I wish they showed us like why they were criminals because they just dive straight into it and it kind of like feels off, kind of like disjointed on why they
Yeah.
were brought together. So that's what I felt. I don't mind the goriness, but there was for me, the gory scene that just hit me too much was the heart scene when they stab and then they show the heart.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I just squealed so much. I'm like, it was just no. I I guess also I wish there was more character development in everybody. I felt like everyone kind of stayed the same, and there was potential for character development. Like they shown it really well, especially with Bloodshot, like trying to have like Bloodshot with his daughter
Bloodsport.
relationship.
Bloodshot is that
Oh,
Vin
sorry.
Diesel movie.
Is it
Oh yeah,
Bloodsport?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. Oh, I'm so
Bloodsport.
sorry.
A really shitty
Bloodsport.
Vin
Yeah.
Diesel movie.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they could have shown like his character development with Bloodsport's daughter, or even John Cena's character Peacemaker. I thought there was a lot of potential for character development, but they just kind of left it as it is. So it was kind of like a bit shallow, but I didn't mind it, but I wish there was more. Oh yes,
I thought it
Momo.
was as good as you're gonna get in a 2-hour movie. Especially there's a scene with King Shark, right, where he's looking out the window. I thought that
Yeah.
told you everything you needed to know. The same thing with Polka Dot Man. Yeah, I thought you got enough for everyone that you understood their motivations and their backstory, and they managed to do it in a way that didn't feel boring. The exposition dumps, it all felt natural to me. So yeah, much better than putting it up on the screen like the first Suicide Squad film.
All right, from negatives, we switch to positive. So, what did you guys love about this year's Suicide Squad?
I'll go
I
first. For me, three things. Number one, I think all the characters shine in this one.
Hmm.
from I think my favorite side character that died early on was Mongol. I think that's what she was called. The one that went on the helicopter and just died like everyone got a stand-up moment. In the beach scene in the beginning, I thought was just hilarious. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
give a specific moment to all the characters. Boomerang
Yeah.
dying. Everyone at least got something to stand out,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that was definitely a key one. And a lot of the characters from the old one, I think they were rejuvenated, I guess you could say. I'm thinking of Rick Flag in particular. In the first movie, he was just there.
Oh
He was like,
yeah.
I want June. I miss June Moon in January. It's got to get her heart out. There wasn't anything there. But over here, he reminded me a lot of Ted Lasso, I guess, to have this idealistic American. He was the screen presence was just there, which it wasn't previously. Another character that stood up to me was Ratcatcher. I thought the
Yes.
actress played her with so much innocence and warmth, and then we got Taika Waititi in the end. The end scene was absolutely powerful. Harley Quinn is always a delight. Bloodsport, yeah, I think all the characters stood out for me. I can't name a weak link in the cast. The second thing I have to say, it was technically very impressive. The cinematography, the action scenes,
Yeah.
the score all around. I don't know. I disagree with the CGI bit. I thought most of the stunts looked very practical. It looked all in camera. I didn't go a moment, oh, that's definitely CGI. Well, obviously the starfishes, but I don't know, it didn't
Yeah.
bother me. And overall, I thought the story-wise, I disagree with a lot of you when you said it kind of felt out there ridiculous. Funnily enough, I thought the whole starfish plot, everything was very grounded. And funnily enough, if you guys have seen Hobbs and Shaw, Idris Elba's character, I can't even remember his name. Was it Brixton? I can't remember. I thought Bloodsport was more logical or felt more grounded than his character in Hobbs and Shaw, which is kind of funny, just putting it out there. But yeah, story-wise, I loved the flow of the film. I wasn't a huge fan of Birds of Prey. I felt it was disjointed. It was trying to, oh, Harley Quinn's supposed to be a bit erratic, so we're going to play around with the plot line and how it flows. But I just thought it felt jarring to me as an audience member. Even if you're trying to make it jarring because of a point, I guess it didn't work. But over here, when they cross cut and do like a 8 minutes earlier or 9 minutes earlier or 3 days before, I thought, yeah, the flow was just perfectly fine. The key to a good flow is not making me annoyed. Whenever a scene cuts to a flashback, I'm like, that didn't feel organic. But yeah, I thought
Yeah.
everything just felt organic here to me. So those are my 3 key points of what I loved about this film.
I do want to add to Momo's point about the characters. I think the new characters were so refreshing, like the Shark, Rat Girl, Peacemaker. I think also the new characters contribute to a lot of the comedy in the movie, and the comedy was really well done. Especially, I feel like the comic for me, the best comedy scenes were definitely between the rat and the shark and the weasel. Oh my god, the weasel!
Weasel.
I love the weasel.
The animals really shined in that. The shark are just so cute, and when the rats are high, that was really cute. But I think my favorite.
Sebastian.
Oh yeah, really nice.
Oh yeah, Sebastian.
Oh my god, yeah, I love it when they say, "Where's Ratatouille?" But my favorite comedic moment was when
Starro the
when
Conqueror.
when Polka Dot always sees everyone as his mom,
mother.
and
Oh,
then
yeah,
and then when
Yeah.
and then when Bloodspot was like to the staff, when Bloodspot was like, "That's
That's
your
your
mom," and then it's just a giant mom. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'll get into my positives later, but Mel, over to you.
Yeah, I just totally agree with Momo's point as well about how everyone literally shined in this movie. Because if I'm just thinking back to Avengers, and I just feel like I honestly never paid attention to Hawkeye.
Hey.
I'm so sorry. I love him, but it just takes a lot of effort for me to actually pay attention to him. But in this show, I mean, not this show, this movie really gave each of them really iconic lines. And I just love how they would just ask the dumbest questions, especially with that scene with Miss Waller, and she was explaining everything. And they're like, "Do you have any questions? What is that? Is that an airhead projector?" And then the shark was like, "Hand." I love that scene. It was just hilarious. And I really also kind of liked being able to see Harley Quinn's kind of like her remnants of her trauma of the past with an abusive sort of relationship with the Joker when she killed her boyfriend. And I quote her dialogue: "I promised myself that next time I have a boyfriend, if I see any red flags, I would do the healthy thing and kill him." I absolutely love that part. In terms of soundtrack, I actually really enjoyed the rat catcher scene soundtrack as well. If you remember the ones at
Or
the end.
Oh, yeah,
And
the instrumental rock music, right?
the
Is that what they
instrumental,
called it?
instrumental
I
rock
love that bit.
music.
Yeah.
And I also really like I don't know what those are, but the shark thought they were his friends, the little jellyfish
yeah.
looking,
Oh.
like, oh my god. I was like, oh, they're so cute. And then when it came out, I was like, oh my god,
Ooh.
now they can be friends. But nope. Nope. They had me at the first half. They didn't want to eat him. I just thought that the comedic timing in this movie was really well done. It wasn't shoved in my face. It just felt really natural in terms of the dynamics and the dialogue that was just the back and forth between every single person. And I, like Momo, basically agree that I think that Ratcatcher really was, for me personally, the star of this movie. She really carried it for me. And it's really interesting because the actress for Ratcatcher, Daniela Melchior, I'm so sorry, Daniela Melchior, she almost was not accepted for the role.
Ooh.
Actually, which is very interesting. She almost
Ooh.
got rejected, according to an article by Screen Rant. It was just like published a day ago. Go have a read about it. It's really interesting. But I just feel like she was made for the role, and I really liked her input in the movie. I feel like some people might feel that the ending of the rats actually being the ones who are the stars of the show, like the movie The Savior, like how they defeated the starfish. But I felt like that was a really nice touch, and it was very sentimental. About how she remembered her father from that, and the way she
Taika
cried as well. Oh
Waititi.
god, I cried. It was really good. It was really well done. Yeah.
Let's have a
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. Jang, what did you love about this year's Suicide Squad?
Yeah, this movie, right? If you really just turn off logic and like plot, and you just look at the comedy and the violence and the R-rated is so good. Like I love seeing people blow up. I don't know. and all yeah is and like remember the one where Peacemaker and Bloodsport were like competing about who can get the
Oh,
nicest
yeah.
kills, and then it was just like, oh,
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that
And then it's like, guys, you killed the resistance.
oh yeah, and then they were just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I didn't see
Oh,
anyone.
shit.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so the comedy was amazing. The violence is so good. So like, if I really like, I wasn't like, if I didn't think about it, I just watched. Like it's really amazing. Like so much better than the first one. Like the fight scenes and yeah, just those two. The fights, the violence and the comedy. Those two are just perfect in this movie. And in terms of characters, I don't know why I really like King Shark. He's just so
Yes.
he's so blur. He's just there like like remember halfway you're just like
Cute.
yeah, Nanue, he's just like bird. No, like what we're trying to do
Yeah.
a mission, you
Yo,
idiot.
I remember like during, I think near the end, he made like a doll out of the bomb. and just
The
like,
snowman.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
yeah, that was so cute.
No,
King Shark
he's,
is
he's
me in
perfect.
every
Yeah.
group match. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just like because like when it starts to get slightly serious and I start to get really serious about it, like all right, they're getting in there, and then you just got him like yay. And then I'm just like, oh lol.
Bird.
Yeah, yeah, that's why he really like compared to what's his name, Killer Croc,
Killer Croc?
in I hate the Killer. What's he doing? He's just an idiot
like
behind there, but King Shark, like his CGI was really done. I like how he walks too. He waddles.
Oh
He
my
kind
god,
of have a
yeah.
waddle. So then like yeah, he really every time he's there, I'm just like, oh lol. So
Nom nom.
I really yeah nom nom, and then like how he was hiding under the tarp in the van, he's just there like. So
Yeah.
like yeah, so I really love King Shark, and Harley Quinn was amazing. Yeah, no, that scene when she the one that really the one where she when she was captured and she like choked the guy with her legs, then took the key
He
with
had
her
strong
toe.
thighs, man. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, like
Yeah.
like oh damn, and like I watched one interview, and that's actually Margot Robbie doing that. So which is
Ooh.
like, oh
Ooh.
damn.
Shout
And then
out.
she
Enjoyed that
and
scene
then
as
she
well.
like yeah, and then she like kind of just put the key. I was like, oh my god, that was amazing. So like yeah, and then
Wow.
she took the javelin, and I was like, oh hey, the javelin. So like yeah, when Harley Quinn's there, it's always good, and King
Yeah.
Shark really just made it made everything better. So like
Mhm.
yeah, those two were the two that really stood out. The rest I like them, but King Shark all the way.
Mhm.
So
For me, just adding on to something that I said earlier about like the graphics and the CGIs, like I actually didn't really have so much an issue with it. I actually really like that they put something like that in an action movie, because I mean, with an action movie, kind of expect gore and graphics and stuff. So it really added on to the movie. We had a lot of like different spices. So you had like the comedy, the sadness, the sentimentality of it all. And then you have like blood for those who enjoy stuff like that. I am a very squeamish person. So it was really hard to watch at certain times, but it really, really kind of made sure that you were really awake throughout the entire movie, because one moment you're laughing and then the next you're like, oh my god, I want to puke. You know, so I really enjoyed that. Oh, and before moving on to Fezz's point, I just really like the one scene with Harley Quinn, and when the guy died, and he wanted to tell her
Oh.
something about the javelin, and he was like,
Oh,
carry
yeah.
it for him.
yeah, they just slapped him
It's
like
so good.
I love that. Yeah. Anyways, Fez, what did you like about this movie?
What you
I
think?
want what do I think? I have to agree with Jang. I actually really like that they made this movie R-rated. I think it was right that they make it R-rated because it can show like the craziness of how these criminals are in action, which is really well done. I know Jang didn't like the costumes in this, but I actually liked the costumes. I thought it
So
improved a
vibrant.
lot.
Mm.
It improved a lot from like the first Suicide Squad, where that one felt like it was just put together last minute, but this one was really tailored and thought through, and the details it was really good. I really love Harley and Bloodspot's costume. I thought they were
I
Bloodspot,
love
right?
the mouth, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
big
that
mouth.
was
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
so interesting. I love that a lot. Yeah, the characters were all really, really well done, especially the shark. For me, I think Bloodspot also did a really good job, and Idris Elba really carried out his performance.
Mm.
He delivered it really well. He showed the sarcasm really well from that character, and also finesse. And my favorite scene from Bloodspot was when he was arguing with his daughter in jail, and they were like just fucking,
Yeah.
they were just swearing each other like, I stole a band watch, deal with it. Yeah.
Can you watch on your TV? Something is stupid. As I tell you, watch on the TV.
Yeah, I felt like Idris Elba was the perfect actor to play Bloodspot.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I love how some of the scenes were shot. I felt like it was so creative, like when how Rat Girl was telling her story in the bus, and then while she's telling her story
Yes.
in the window, they were like showing it with Taika Waititi being the dad. I also love like in the scene when Peacemaker and what's his name? I don't know his
Rick
name.
Flag.
They were
Oi,
Red
put some
Flag, yeah.
respect on that
And
Rick Flag.
I'm so sorry. They were like showing the fight scenes in the helmet,
Oh
and
yeah,
they
that was
just showed
great.
it in the helmet with the reflection. That was so good. I
Oh
also
yeah.
I also love like what Jang said. I love the fight scene when Harley was trying to escape herself from, I guess, prison. I thought
The
that was really
flowers, so
cool.
vibrant.
Yeah, oh yeah, the flowers was so it was just so bright and vibrant. And I like that it like the CGI of the flowers, it showed the illusion of what she was fighting and what she was seeing. It showed like how crazy she was.
She is not right.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And what was my last point? Oh, I love how like, you know, in the movie they showed like James Gunn really was quite creative in how he would show the wording, like it would be on the mud or it would be in the sky
yeah.
to show like
Mhm.
what is next, like the time frame or what they have to do in the next mission. So yeah, I love that a lot. And pass it over to Mel.
I just want to add that another star of the movie I feel is Milton.
The bus. Oh, I love that. That was hilarious.
I actually quite like that because we
I
see
can
him
be your
tagging
friend,
along,
Milton.
but like they kind of break the fourth wall and be like, guys, he was with us this entire time, by the way, and his name is Milton.
Oh my god, yeah.
I really like that.
All
my.
right. So now that we've watched both Suicide Squad, I'm really curious to hear from all of you. What did this year's Suicide Squad did right or did not do right compared to 2016 Suicide Squad? Mo.
I'll just say, I basically think this was an improvement in almost every aspect besides the music choices. That's all
Yeah.
really, like the characters more
Mhm.
fleshed out. Everyone had a moment to shine. The color scheme just aesthetically pleasing throughout. The action scenes, they weren't just fighting silly putties, as I call them, or whatever you call them, those big black blobs who could just respawn. That was lame. Yeah, but the action in the first one was pretty good overall. But this one I just felt was very refreshing. But I just have to add one thing. I'm surprised at how self-contained this movie was. I think Jang also mentioned that can be a detriment to the movie, and as well as a strength, right? But
Mhm.
in some ways, just coming into this 2 hour and 12-minute movie, that it wasn't set on trying to build the largest cinematic universe, if you will, and just have A to Z completing arcs for Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, in the sense that I don't feel like I would like to see another Suicide Squad movie directed by James Gunn, but I don't need to see one, or what it warrants another one, right? It's just a fun, self-contained 2 hour enjoyable romp. Whereas with the first Suicide Squad, you felt a bit unfulfilled, especially as you go back and look at the trailers. You're missing this, you're missing this. You didn't get enough Joker, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I'd say this one left me more fulfilled.
That's some interesting points which I never thought of. Yeah. Jang, was there anything that this movie did right or did not do right compared to 2016's version?
I have to agree with Momo that it's actually very fulfilling. Like even
Mm.
though that it didn't make like much starfish, but like even though it was that, like at the end I was just like, all right, like with the Suicide Squad, I was just like yeah, same thing as Momo, like I want some more Joker. Like what the hell was that with the dancing? Like, yeah, so like
I
yeah,
can
and
give
I
you
think
what you
the
want, my dear.
yeah, why did they do that? I still don't know. But yeah, but then like the R-rated was so much better. Like very
Yeah.
I was so happy with R-rated. And yeah, and like with the first Suicide Squad, I felt like the roster of people, since it was a smaller, was it a smaller roster? I'm not sure, but like for each of them, I kind of cared more for like Harley and Deadshot, like because of the flashback scenes. Like yeah, I know that this one didn't have that many,
Oh, I
but because
see.
like you had the
I
flashback, you
see.
could see like how their
Oh.
lives were before Suicide Squad, and like and it also helped them connect it to the bigger
Oh.
universe. That I kind of like. I get that this one is more isolated, so like it's fine, but yeah, it's like, oh, you kind of that part I was kind of like, I prefer the old one. Oh, you know when Captain Boomerang died, I was actually very sad.
Really?
Oh yeah, all set.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like from the first Suicide Squad, I was just like, oh, this guy, he's back, and then he got hit by a helicopter. I was like, no.
That could have been avoided. It was the trees and everything. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
stupid mongrel. She is so hilarious though. Oh,
yeah,
get the bird. I just love that scene.
yeah,
So
she
funny.
she killed the
Oh.
Aussie. What a, oh my god. Why did she do that? Yeah, and then like remember in the first Suicide Squad, the El Diablo, remember he fought and sacrificed
yeah.
himself. So that was
Mhm.
so
That's
much
nice.
more powerful compared
Oh.
to Polka Dot
Mhm,
Man's death,
mhm. Oh
where he just
yes,
got
I
crushed.
completely agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I'll agree
yeah.
with you. Polka Dots Man
Yeah,
was a
that's
bit sad. It was a bit. It felt like it wanted to tell a joke, more like, oh yeah, he dies.
Yeah.
Funny, you didn't expect that.
Mhm.
That one, yeah,
Yeah.
I felt bad for Polka Dots
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, like
Mhm.
after all that, like
Overall,
he just like I was like, oh lol.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess like, yeah, but El Diablo was like blow it, and then he just died. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah.
I felt more connected in the first one, but this one is more just all out fun, violence, and everything. So
Mhm.
that
I'll
really
just
made
say
up.
one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Thank
go
God
for
for
it.
the lack of slow-mo in this movie. Oh my God, the first movie slow-mo is annoying.
Oh
When they started
yeah,
like
yeah.
through the bombs, and I was watching the clip on YouTube. I was like, how much slow-mo do you need? But Will Smith in that scene was really good, where he has to shoot. Hey, Daddy, please don't do this. Daddy, please don't do
Yeah,
this.
then
And it
he
was
just
just
like
like, shut the fuck up, boom. Yeah, it was touching, but way too much slow-mo.
Jang, you made some really good and solid points that I never thought of. But you showed it, you backed it up really well with with scenes from 2016. So that's some really good points. That's quite good point. How about
A star, A star.
A
A
star?
star.
A star. How about you, Mel? What did this year's Suicide Squad did right or did not do right compared to 2016's?
I felt like with the 2016 one, when we explored the minds of the evil like villains, etc. I mean, like, you know, the Suicide Squad, it focused a lot more on how messed up they were, etc. But this time around, it was just all out chaotic. And I really enjoyed that a lot more, I guess, with the dynamics. But like Jang said, in 2016, I felt like I really cared for each of the characters on a much more personal level in that sense. But for this one, it's because we're so focused on a lot more like the chaoticism and like the humor of it all. We don't really actually see much of their personal life except Ratcatcher and Bloodsport. And I feel like in this movie, I cared about those two a whole lot more. I wanted to really know more about Polka Dot Man's past a little bit more. I thought that would be really interesting to dive into, but I felt like maybe he's just used for comedic relief, the same way how King Shark was basically used for that characters as well. But yeah, I just felt like his death was not the greatest. I feel like the death in this movie was just kind of like, oh, okay, they died. That's not really a huge impact to it in comparison to the first movie.
A bunch of people died. The song
A
at the
bunch of
beginning,
people
that was
did
funny.
die. Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree. Music,
Yeah.
2016 did do better in regards to the music. Very iconic music as well. And I feel like the vibe that they really put out for this movie was, it suited the Suicide Squad a whole lot more, I feel, with the whole CGI, the gore, etc. Like what Jang said earlier, so I won't dive into that a whole lot more. But I can kind of see how they're trying to build a bigger DCEU. Did you not see the post-credit scenes?
Oh yeah, but
Oh yeah, I
that's more for the
did.
TV show, if anything. So like, it wasn't.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
It
pretty
looked good.
interesting. I feel like doing a reboot of the 2016 because they felt like it would be better. Like, okay, maybe we can do a sequel or something out of this. Because I mean, we were all waiting for the first one and we want to see more of Joker or whatever, all of them. But it was like 5 years ago now and nothing's really happening. And it's kind of like a reset. Yeah, it's kind of like a reset this year.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, I've never really been in the DC universe, but from this movie, I'm actually kind of interested to see where they'll take this. Like, will the Suicide Squad be like a new Avenger? I don't know, but we'll see.
And no one can blame you because the DCU is a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. Gosh, but hopefully they'll clean it up.
It is a mess. Well,
Doesn't look like it, because I'm just gonna segue a bit. I'm gonna hijack
Yeah.
Fezz for a minute. Just
No
really
worries.
quickly, the Suicide Squad is set to open in the US this weekend with only $25 million, which is not
Oh.
good because people thought it was gonna make 30 million, and for comparison, Godzilla, the latest one, made about 35 million. A Quiet Place 2 made 40 million. Black Widow obviously made like 80 million. So I don't know. Does anyone have any views on why it's not doing too well at the box office? Is it HBO Max? Is it Delta variant?
I think it
That's
might
sad.
be.
I'm really sad. I was sad when I found that out.
Yeah.
I think it might be HBO Max because isn't HBO Max like they put the movies out, like you have to sign up obviously, but then it's for free. It's not like Disney Plus where you have to like pay
Fork
extra.
out $30. Yeah, true.
That's what I think, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. For me, I think I'm gonna echo a lot of what you guys said. I personally felt like the characters really shine more in this compared to 2016 Suicide Squad. I felt like it's because they showed their personalities more, and because of that, it makes them more memorable. Like I can recap scenes better than 2016 Suicide Squad. I also thought the selection of the characters was very well done in that. The casting was really good. They picked out the perfect actors and actresses to portray the characters, especially Idris Elba, like I mentioned in my positives. I felt that Will Smith in 2016 was miscasted. Like I felt no, for me, like he was just he was too serious and he was too rigid. And that's my transitioning to the next part. The good thing about this movie is like what Jang said, is that it didn't take themselves too seriously. I felt that 2016 they took themselves really, really seriously. And because of that, a lot of the jokes didn't land, or it was just very cringy to watch. And yeah, because it didn't take itself too seriously, everyone can just have a good time and relax, and they can shine more. Even Viola Davis's character, when she just let out her anger near the end and just started screaming and
You
and like
motherfucker!
the way, like, and then she was more sarcastic instead of her
Mhm.
serious self in 2016. I thought that was brilliant, and it just
Yep.
made everyone shine more. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to get attacked.
Uh-huh.
Like as we mentioned in 2016's movie, they showed the other DC characters like Batman and the Flash. I
Mm.
felt like 2016 they focused too much on building up the DC cinematic
Yeah.
universe, which was kind of distracting. Whereas 2021's movie, they just purely focused on the Suicide Squad, so the
Mhm.
characters shine, and it just didn't distract anything. And I just love like it's not afraid to be bold. That's why the making it R-rated was perfect, because it wasn't afraid to be bold and just do whatever. I felt like 2016 it was too safe and too conventional, and I think James Gunn was definitely the right director to do that. The only thing that this year's Suicide Squad didn't do right, which I have to agree with all of you, is the soundtrack. I felt like the soundtrack definitely in 2016 was more memorable. This year's soundtrack felt so random. Like there was no theme. It was just like, oh, the song sounds cool. Let's just put it in there.
It's really weird, isn't it? From James Gunn.
Yeah.
Because Guardians Volume 2, I'm thinking of you break da da dun dun da da dun. I have to hum the music, but yeah, the music was used to like an absolutely powerful effect, especially the Yondu death scene, right? Oh, I
Mm.
love the music that played there. Good stuff,
I like the music in. I think James Gunn did a better job in the music for
definitely.
Guardians of the Galaxy, because like he had specific decades he wanted to do, and because of that, and the way he put the music in the scenes, it was so memorable. I think that's why the music fits it well there
Mhm.
compared to the Suicide Squad. But anyway, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, transition to my
Ooh.
next question. Now,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people love to compare Suicide Squad with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's mainly because they have the same storyline of a bunch of criminals trying to save the world, and coincidentally, both these franchises are directed by the same director, James Gunn. So I'm
And
really
written,
curious. Sorry?
written and directed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really curious to hear from all of you. How does this Suicide Squad compare to Guardians of the Galaxy? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? Is it not comparable? What do you think?
Well,
I don't
Momo.
think you.
I feel like it's basically the same repeat of what we've said before. When you think Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the main things you think about is the soundtrack and how iconic it is. So I feel like in that sense, comparing those two, yeah, soundtrack really lacks a lot. But from the beginning, I can see a lot of like Guardians of the Galaxy influences with like the weasel and like this and like the whole a lot of the you see a lot of like the weasel is like weird little creatures, and like the comedy you can kind of see like the resemblance as well. And I just feel like kind of like the same. I can see where you're coming from as well, same-ish story, etc. So makes sense. I mean, James Gunn, but yeah. I'll add on to everything else later. Yeah,
The
go
only
ahead,
Wow.
Mo.
Guardians bit I got at the end was just at the end when only 5 of them were left and they were all walking. I guess I was like, huh, Guardians. But that's
Oh
about
yeah.
it. I don't know. It's very interesting to see James Gunn making Guardians movies very family, wholesome films that he's quite restrained there. And but with the Guardians movies, you get so much heart and wholesomeness with this family and the bickering. Over here, you get the gore. So I like seeing him switch between the two styles. I think there's enough there that I'm not like, oh, this is just Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, there are obviously some bits and pieces you can see there. But if anything, that's more James Gunn rather than trying to copy Guardians of the Galaxy. And did you guys notice Mantis? She was
Oh
dancing
yeah.
in the club. Yeah, Mantis,
Wait,
the one with
what?
the yeah,
Wait,
she
wait,
was
One of the
what
one
strippers.
scene?
of the strippers when they went to the club.
No
Let me
way.
find it.
Oh my god, I
What?
did not
I did
know.
not
Let me
notice.
find it.
I did not notice as
I
well.
knew that. I knew that one of them was a cameo, that the Mary Poppins dude, he was there, but I
Who?
knew there
Oh,
was another
Yondu.
one. Yeah, I knew there
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh, I didn't know it was Mantis.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, damn.
And then Weasel. Weasel is played
Yeah.
by Kraglin, right? Kraglin is Weasel, right?
No, I think so, but you also see Kraglin in the beginning with Polka Dot Man, the guy who screams like I can't remember the joke, but it's like, yo, you want to come to my kid's birthday party or something, you fucking idiot, or something like that. That was
That's
Kraglin
him,
as
eh?
well, I think. I think so.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the one behind. Oh,
Ah,
shit.
yeah. I
Oh,
like you could see Amanda Waller's chin there. That's funny, but
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
wow.
he's just trolling lah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
On a really random side note, I'm very happy to see Peter Capaldi in this
Oh,
Doctor
I
Who.
loved him as a
Oh.
thinker.
Yeah,
Yes.
12th
Sorry,
Doctor.
Dr. Conqueror.
Wow. Yeah, that was interesting.
Jang, how does this compare to Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I kind of follow Momo for this one also. Like why it's not really, it's the same kind of story, but I didn't feel any connection. Like Momo found a few kind of, but I didn't think about
Ooh.
Guardians at all throughout the whole movie. It yeah, the stories are the same, but he's told both stories so differently, like
Mhm.
nothing to do with each other. It felt so different. So
Mm.
I didn't really
Guardians is more of a
connect it.
family, if anything,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
This one is more like just a bunch
Right.
of misfit
Yeah.
anti-heroes just for a common goal. They're just friends, I don't expect them to be like, very tight knit.
Yeah.
So there's a different
Completely,
dynamic completely, I'd say. Yeah.
completely
Mm.
agree with you guys.
Yeah, for me, that's why I prefer Guardians of the Galaxy compared to Suicide Squad. It's because like I like that they show the family, and I felt like in family, and I like how like Guardians of the Galaxy, I felt like the bond is stronger and they actually care for each other when they fight. I know Suicide Squad is completely different because they're just there for the job, but I kind of prefer Guardians of the Galaxy because the bond was stronger and you can definitely feel it. So yeah, that's my opinion. All right. So I just want to ask all of you, with the new Suicide Squad, is it going in the right direction to become a better DC cinematic universe? Because it's been very clear that DC wants to redo their cinematic universe with new movies that were quite different from when they released movies in 2014 to 2017. So they're releasing movies like Shazam, Joker, Bird of Prey. So I'm really curious, with the new Suicide Squad, are they going in the right direction to become a better cinematic universe?
Momo does not look very convinced. You should go
I'm just
back.
laughing because when you say direction, that implies everything is cohesive and moving towards one endpoint. The issue is they're going in 10 different directions. Shazam is going who not God knows where. Aquaman barely connected. What else?
Yeah.
Birds of Prey in this one. What happened to the Birds of Prey? What happened to that kid, Cassandra Cain?
No
Did
idea.
Harley just leave her or something? Uh, Flashpoint, who knows what's going on with that one? Apparently Michael Keaton's back. For some reason, Mira was British in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So the DCU makes no sense. And in some ways, it doesn't need to. If they can, I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy Birds of Prey, never mind. But if they can come up with just good movies that I can watch, like Aquaman, like the Suicide Squad, where I have a enjoyable fun time and they want to continue their own isolated stories in their own world, by all means, yeah, sure, I'd be perfectly happy for DC to go that route, because we've seen studios try to build the cinematic universe and fail miserably. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of The Mummy for one.
Oh
The
yeah,
Mummy
that was
cinematic
sad.
universe, yeah, they barely got out one movie. Remember the Dark Universe saga? They brought in Johnny Depp, I think Penelope Cruz.
Penelope Cruz, yeah.
What do I want to say? Pineapple Cruz or something? I don't know. But yeah, if they want to make isolated movies like this, I'm be perfectly fine. Who knows what direction the DC universe is going in? But yeah, just make good movies and all will be.
I completely agree with that as well. I it's a bit unclear as to like what exactly they want to build for the universe. I've not really been in the DC universe as I've like established like earlier in the episode as well. But I think the only like other universe I really keep up with is like the Marvel universe, and with that you can see that they built the franchise over, like, it's a huge story that they've set up from the beginning. We kind of build up to this one huge enemy, blah blah blah. So watching Suicide Squad, etc., it kind of felt like with each movie we're just gonna have like different kinds of enemies, or like, I don't know, it's not like as like a long current like common enemy that you can really build off a huge like universe to string it up and stuff. So I don't know, I'm a bit unsure, but seeing with the box office response and stuff like that as well, it's kind of like, will it be okay?
It's time for DC to pivot again.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like they're pivoting a lot. Like
Yeah.
they release things and then it's kind of like, guys, I think we need to reset again.
Pivot.
Yeah, pivot.
Pivot.
Yeah.
That's why I said pivot for you guys. No, just at Warner Brothers is a mess. I mean, it might be the craziest studio. The HBO Max thing just, let's release all the movies same day and date with our service. Why not? The whole reason Suicide Squad was changed was because of Deadpool and BVS. Because Deadpool was so successful, making like 900 million, but BVS, no one really cared for it because it's so dark. So they were like, oh, let's change it right now. We don't know what to do. And then with Justice League, the one that came out in 2017, it was, they were like, we want to make a movie like the Avengers. Who do we bring in? Joss Whedon. No, it's a mess. I don't know how they have so much money or how they're not bankrupt. Or what. Warner Brothers is an absolute joke of a studio. And it looks like Disney is a joke of a studio right now with the new CEO. So I have no idea what's going to go on. Just make good movies. That's all.
You have one job.
One job.
Good movie.
Jang, what about you? Do you think they're going in the right direction or is it just a mess?
Yeah, I am very sad for the DC. I am so sad. Like, no, because like I love how Marvel we have seen Marvel. They've created such a beautiful universe with planning and it's so good. And like I love Superman and all these and Batman and all these characters and Joker. Like if they had a Marvel style thing going on, it would have, and then they're like it would be an actual competition, like DC universe and Marvel universe. I would love to see them fighting, seeing who can make better films, and they're all kind of. But then like DC is just playing like catch up with Marvel with like the the BVS thing, and then the Justice League. They're just randomly oh shit, the Avengers will follow. Like just like Momo said, they're just like look what they're doing. Let's copy. So like
I mean, this movie is a copy if you think about it.
Yes,
I mean James
exactly.
Gunn. Yeah, no, I mean James Gunn got fired because of his tweets, and then DC was like, oh come, make all come.
Yeah. He was like, okay, I'll get back at Marvel. Yeah. Especially with like the post-credit scene as well. And I'm like, oh, there's a post-credit scene. And we're like, you have Peacemaker like alive, and we're like, I see what you're trying to do here, DC. I see. And just wanted to point out, Fezz at the moment, as we're speaking about the DCEU, etc., she's wearing a Marvel shirt, so I guess that's pretty interesting.
Your true allegiance lies elsewhere.
Yeah, so that's why I'm just so sad because these characters are so good and they're not doing them right.
Mhm.
But then the counter argument to that is you wouldn't get Joker. Joker is an excellent movie, a huge success for the DCEU. You wouldn't get that if they were trying to make
that's why there's a
cohesive
few
one.
movies that hit, but the thing is they
So
don't
it benefits,
yeah, but it's still not connected to everything else. Like Joker is just on its own again. So like you can't recreate that. Like Avengers, like it's amazing, and then they make this Avengers amazing. I mean, like they can keep making it again and getting it better and better every time. But this one, like Joker, is good. That's it lah. We cannot do anymore.
Right.
So like I'm like, oh yeah. So like they. Ayo, it's so sad because I love all these characters, but they're not. And like this Suicide Squad, they didn't like the most that they said about the rest of the universe is that Superman is in the ICU. That's all we got. But other than that, what is that? It's on its own, which I get. Like Momo said, I guess if they at this point just make good movies, please. Just like the universe, like unfortunately, like I was still holding up.
I mean, they have the idea, they have the spirit, but
execution.
Execution. We need to give them a bit of time. But I always found it interesting. We have the DC versus Marvel thing, but and like everything that we've talked about earlier, it doesn't really feel like a competition or anything like that. I'm really sorry.
Marvel is out building a huge city with intricate planning, and DC is trying to run a farm that somehow has fishes like elephants. So it's like.
That's why it's just everywhere. I'm so sad. Like no, that they stopped trying. Literally, they even with this one, they're just like Superman's in the ICU. That just helps explain how cool Bloodsport is that he put Superman in the ICU. Do we actually care about Superman? No, we just need to.
They're gonna
we need to sell.
No, I
Yeah,
mean
so
the
like,
first Suicide Squad and BVS were like heavy studio interference. We cut this. The studio producers were all up in the directors, and now they just like the directors. Man.
do what you wanna.
Mm.
See, but it's not working. So the first one didn't work. It was a critical failure, but commercial success. This one looks like a critical success, but commercially probably not doing so well. But then you have the questions of Delta variant, Corona, HBO Max, blah blah blah. So who really knows?
Yeah.
But all I
True.
can say just all the best.
All the best in the recess.
I do have to agree with everyone. DC is a mess. I don't know what they're doing with the cinematic universe, but I have to agree with Momo. As long as they release good movies, it's fine. Like, I definitely prefer this round of movies, like the recent movies, compared to 2014, 2017, especially with 2017's Justice League. I felt like at that time they were really trying to replicate Marvel, like the way, like with the characters and the jokes, they were really, really trying hard to be like Marvel. That really pissed me off in Justice League a lot. So I was quite irritated at that. But
Mhm.
I like how this year's movies like Shazam, Bird of Prey, they're trying to be different from Marvel. They're producing unique, and even the way they handle the jokes and the writing and the characters is so much different from Marvel, which I like. As long as they differentiate themselves and not trying to copy anybody, I'm perfectly happy with that. But yeah, Jang,
Mhm.
what do you want to add?
No, yeah, so DC, we need to give them something. Like for if you guys have seen the Flash TV show, and there's Arrow,
Uh,
Legends of
The
Tomorrow,
Arrowverse,
Supergirl.
yeah.
Yeah, no, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. I think there's a Batwoman also, something like that. Like they've done crossovers, so like it's actually really good. Like it's really nice. Like when they do those crossovers in the TV shows, because like Arrow, Flash, and all the characters from like Supergirl, and yeah, they've actually done a crossover thing before in the TV. But the problem is with TV shows, it's so like everywhere. With they actually did make a whole universe and everything's going on together. So like they've kind of done it like a Marvel style thing in the TV show. So yeah, we need to give that to them. The problem is they've kind of gone too far with it with Flash, because with Flash there's a multiverse and everything, and that multiverse has kind of like made things way too complicated, until even I love the Flash, but now I have no idea what's going on. So like what is that? Yeah, DC did do a kind of like, let's come together Avengers thing in the TV shows, but the thing is with TV shows is so like each episode is like an hour, so by the time you watch all the Arrow seasons, then watch all the Flash seasons and watch all the Supergirl seasons, like by the time you get to the end, it's crazy already. So yeah, so yeah, give props to DC. They did kind of manage to do something in the TV shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Before we round up our podcast with ratings, is there anything you guys want to bring to the table or ask to each other? Now is the time to do so.
Yes, I do. Do you guys remember the tweets that James Gunn tweeted? That was the smartest. Wow, my vocabulary. Do you guys remember the tweets that he tweeted?
About what?
No, basically
Wait,
like just a bunch of creepy stuff about like um tasteless jokes about children, which he has apologized for, which is fine. We all make mistakes, right?
But like we all
Pedo,
make
and
mistakes about children like that.
no, no.
Like-
he just made a bunch of like pedophilic, just weird jokes, right?
oh yeah, it's a
About
mistake
children.
we all go
Oh.
through.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, just him, but like,
red flags, red flags.
but I remember, yeah. So what is it? And then that's how he got fired from the Disney. What is it? Marvel
right.
Universe, which doesn't make sense because he tweeted that on in like 2010. You're telling me Marvel didn't check? It's stupid. Anyway, I digress. But it is kind of funny to see him just make a apology, I guess, or really, what is it? Overcorrect, where Harley Quinn kills the guy because the guy was like, children, nah, you can't do that. And then you have Rick
Oh,
Flag
yeah.
going on about like they tortured children or something. So I just kind of chuckled a bit,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, we get it.
Throughout the
We can go.
entire
Yeah.
movie, it's like
Children, he
"It's
understands now. Children are the
children."
line. Children are the line. So, is that a formal apology or something? So I thought that was just funny, but that's about it.
That's
really.
interesting. Yeah.
My
That is-
analysis onto
Nice.
All right. So now we're going to wrap up our podcast with a rating as well as why we decided to give that rating for The Suicide Squad. And I'm really curious to hear from all of you. After we watched The Suicide Squad, was a remake necessary? So who wants to go first?
Jang, would you like to go first?
Oh, okay, cool.
Go first. Good job.
Okay. This movie to me isn't really a remake. It's kind of like more of Suicide Squad 2, kind of, but like very disconnected. So like it's kind of like a very soft sequel, is it?
Yeah.
So I kind of if I really turned off my brain and forget about the fact that they're fighting a starfish, and just that what is that, just watch for the comedy and the violence and just the characters, like these are iconic DC characters in their iconic costumes, I know, like it makes more sense, but no, they don't need to. It just this feels like a comic book just came out into a movie, like if you had an actual comic book and it just turned into a movie with like a lot of things, like when the words get like Fezz said, or like when the words come out on the and all that things. Those are felt very like, it felt like a comic book, like I'm watching a live comic book. So like so overall my rating for this movie, I think I will give it 8.
7.5. Oh,
Hey, very.
Yeah, if you really just don't think about it, like it's a comic book come to life, and this is what a fully authentic comic book movie will be like, without trying to change logic or like make or worry about a bigger unit. This is just a good comic book. This is a comic book movie, like perfectly done comic book movie, without having to change anything. So yeah, I'll give it a 8.
So it was a what movie again? A comic? What are you joking?
this was a graphic novel, if we heard you
It was a graphic novel.
I have one more thing to add. I just got a kick out of every time Idris Elba said Jotunheim. I was like, Hemdal. That's one. Jotunheim. You have to get to Jotunheim. You're no longer, what's his face, Hemdal, with the sword being the gatekeeper. But the key is make a good movie, and I thought this was a great movie, technically impressive, enjoyable ride. My only regret is I didn't get to see this in a giant IMAX screen because of the mishandling of the pandemic by the government, but that's for another show. Yeah, I just really wish I could have seen this on a huge IMAX screen, especially the gore, the action. I'd give this a strong 9 out of 10. I really love this film.
That's really
It's not my favorite movie of the year. I'd say, funnily enough, I just realized my top 3 movies of the year, 2 of them are DC movies. So I'd say number 1 is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I knew it.
Number 2 is A Quiet Place Part 2. And I think it's third.
Mel, what about you? What do you give this movie?
What you think?
What do you think?
I felt like this movie was it was as fresh as it could be. Even if it's a soft reboot, soft sequel, a disconnected one at that of the 2016 one, and even if the beginning kind of felt like a repeat of the first movie, they did take it in an unpredictable direction, and I really did enjoy the unpredictability of it all. So it was really fresh in my opinion. When it comes to like the dialogue as well, I actually really enjoyed the scripting. It's something I think I alluded to as well. There's the point in every movie or media where the jokes can get a little bit like repetitive, cringy, predictable, but I felt like with this one it was actually really well done. I did not expect half of the jokes to come out the way they did, or like the puns, etc. So I really loved that. Because I'm thinking back to like Hotel Transylvania, like a long time ago, when they made like this running like, oh, selfie joke, and I'm like, is that supposed to be funny? Like sometimes it's like really cringy, but that wasn't the case for this movie at all. So I actually really did enjoy this in comparison to the 2016 one. It's only because I missed the Joker, that's why I was like a bit but rating wise I would give it an 8.5 actually. The big thing that's lacking for me, graphics, everything, it was just so visually pleasing, but if the soundtrack was better, I would have given it a 9. Yeah, because I'm a huge soundtrack person. It totally lacked for me, but everything else was really well done. I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah.
For me, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It was fun, it was entertaining, there were great characters, and the acting was really good. I just wish there was slightly more to the storyline and there was more character development to be a stronger movie. I don't know. For me, I felt like also at the beginning, I didn't know if it was a remake or a soft sequel, but in terms of was a remake necessary, maybe in terms of if they want to create a better cinematic universe, but as we said, it's a mess, so maybe not, but who knows? Oh,
I feel like for them, this could potentially be a good reset.
Right,
How
that
they'll
might be,
handle
yeah.
it from here, we'll see.
we'll
But if they
see.
do it right, this would be the start of it all. Like I can see what they're trying to do. Yeah. But
Yeah.
But yeah,
anyways,
because this is
the
just a
words
business. So yeah,
yeah.
if this doesn't perform on HBO Max, or if the audiences don't want to watch it, then yeah, we're gonna pivot again.
Yeah.
Pivot.
In the words of Momo from the previous episodes in season 1, don't fuck it up.
The last time I said that, you know what happened? Episode 3 came.
Oh, we'll
Of
always
course,
bring
we
up
have to
episode.
mention it.
Yeah, we'll always bring up episode 3 in our podcast.
Yeah, that's what really brings me down for Suicide Squad is the fact that it's so disconnected. Because I love like
Yeah.
with Loki, I love looking at it's connected here.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
and then this movie I'm just like there's nothing.
But-
It's just
But I guess we could say that all of our ratings did increase from the 2016 Suicide Squad.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing something right. Yeah.
yeah,
Really, but
our average
financially,
score
no.
was 8.1. So overall.
Shocking.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh,
Right.
okay.
That's a good idea, actually. We have an average score.
Yeah, I was doing quick maths. I was just like mean.
Wow.
Good maths.
All right. So if you have made it to the end of our podcast, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate your support. If you're if you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure to give us a like, as well as comment down below. Do you agree or disagree with our discussions? And what did you think of this year's Suicide Squad? If you're listening to other streaming platforms, make sure to share it with your friends and family so that might be interested in our podcast, as well as follow us on Instagram to be updated on when we upload new episodes. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Oh my god, Fezz, did you